just don't get it.
Well, I've got some company in my salty hate for the farmers. So now I'm not as lonely.
It's true.
It is true. We went up to Columbia yesterday, Sunday afternoon, and we got in some games with some neighboring metas, specifically the guys in Greenville that we've mentioned before. And we're going to actually edit onto this podcast a conversation that we're going to have with Mike Rhodes via Skype tomorrow. And we also got together with some of the guys from Augusta. And so we want to do a little cross-meta activity, see what they're offering, and give them some different play styles to experience. And of course, while we were there, we had a call out on my challenge to beat Pete's Farmers.
Fair enough.
And Pete's Farmers remain undefeated since the challenge was issued.
So what we're going to talk about today is we're going to hit up some Union and Chains update. That's going to be real short, though. I just wanted to talk with Chris about some of the things that got updated. We also got a super sweet model announcement that hopefully will come out. And I tell you what, Steamforge can keep releasing these models. I know I was pissed in the last podcast, but they're coming out with some clean looking stuff. We'll do battle reports of the 3 games that each of us played. And then, like Chris said, we'll go ahead and finish up with that interview with Mike from Greenville. So with the Union and Chains event, it is officially closed. The only thing that is going to change any of the results is if you're at the UK SteamCon. So I'm hoping that my fellow brewers go up there at the UK SteamCon and finish it off and take care of the Masons. And your butchers are looking a little scared with the way they're sitting right now.
Yeah, I was frustrated. I knew that it was closing today, and I thought I could wake up and submit some battle reports and some pictures, but it closed at 12 noon British Standard Time.
Foggy London time.
Yeah,
whatever.
foggy London time. So I wasn't able to get them in. That was a little bit frustrating. And I also don't like that, we're being discriminated against because we live in America. So our SteamCon doesn't get to weigh in.
To be fair, the worlds are at SteamCon US.
Meh.
So that was announced, so that was nice to see this morning as soon as I woke up. And then also, air high five to you. You called this an air high five.
No, we're doing a real one.
That was kind of loud on the podcast. But anyways, speaking of which, I think we got finally the volume thing fixed. We had a few people saying the volume was kind of quiet on iTunes, and I think we finally got it fixed. So we're going to check it out when we edit this one. But kudos to you, my friend, calling the Avarice and Greed fluff.
I did.
The new fluff they just released on Avarice and Greed, spoiler alert. Chris nailed it with saying that they were going to split them up in the fluff, and that, you want to know what? They're probably going to 2 separate guilds.
I hope they do.
So I'm going to be really curious to see kind of where that goes from here.
Yeah. It's like splitting up the tag team world champs.
And it's funny, though, because I thought they did a good job with that story, and I'm just going to spoil it because I don't care.
What?
Do you really want me to hold on
At
to
least say spoiler alert first.
I just said I'm going to spoil it.
Okay.
I don't
Spoiler alert, everyone.
So I like the way that they did it, though, because the little guy wanted to keep it together because I think he realizes that the big guy kind of, benefits him more. And the big guy just had a bunch of money that he worked out basically like a bribe in his jacket. And he's like, I don't need you anymore. I'm out. And then it just kind of leaves off with them kind of gambling their way on how they're going to split up, basically.
It's a tale as old as time.
Yeah, you gamble, you lose. Got to know when to hold them.
Yeah, and when to fold them.
Yeah,
know when to walk away and know when to run. So, yeah, I kind of felt that something like that might happen, and that was purely a guess. I would love to say that I had some inside knowledge there.
But we'd be lying.
But I would be lying. Although, if Steamforge needs any more of my input, I can kind of help them with some ideas.
And we also did get a shout out, the Midwest Gaming Group. They have their podcast, The Pitch.
Yeah.
And they were like, hey, there's a bunch of podcasts coming out, and they named ours as one of them. So
yeah, thanks, guys.
I like a lot of the stuff they're coming out with.
I definitely, when I read some of their comments on their website,
MidwestGaming.com.
MidwestGaming.com, when I read some of their write-ups and those types of things, they definitely, I see eye to eye with those guys. Yeah, I appreciate their perspective. Well, I lean the same way.
I think they're realistic too, because like I was listening to their last one where they were talking about Theron, and they're like, we're not very good hunters players, but here's our thoughts. So they still had insightful opinions, but recognized the fact that they didn't know everything they were talking about.
Yeah.
So definitely like listening to their podcast. Check it out if you get the chance. So with that being said, they also announced today with is it Toad Gaming? The company that makes these busts.
Broken Toad?
Broken Toad, that's what it is.
Yeah.
So they made the Rage bust, which you have right here, very nicely assembled.
Yes, I've been waiting for this since Gen Con. One of our buddies went to Gen Con and picked it up for me, and I've been waiting till I saw the guys from Greenville, at least one of them, to get it over to me, and I assembled it. It came in 4 pieces. I thought it would be slightly bigger. I thought it would be like a 1/6 size bust. It's a 1/10 size bust. And so it fits nicely into the palm of my hand. Very comfortably.
A lot of jokes there that we're not going to touch on. So
yeah.
But they announced
But it's a great bust, by the way.
It is.
Yeah.
But they announced that they have a new one coming out, and they just referred to her as the last, right?
Yes.
So this opens up a lot of possibilities, because I think there's a lot of females in the game.
It's Angel. It's Angel.
Well, some people think it. I'm kind of voting for Friday myself.
I think that if I remember correctly, Angel is actually referred to by the phrase, and let me see if I can find exactly what they posted, but Angel... I think it was Grayscales or one of the characters early on referred to Angel as something lass, and I think that was the phrase they used on the teaser when they...
Well, I saw on a bunch of Fish players posted that they thought it was Angel, so I know that's a very real possibility.
I would be surprised if they choose Angel. She's not, a
loved character?
Yeah, she's not a character that everyone's playing. She's not a character that is key to the fluff. I would be surprised if they chose her. I understand why the first one they did was Rage. He's kind of really made the train go.
Yeah, and I think that's why, I know you'd enjoy Brisket, but she's technically...
especially the aspect of a Brisket bust,
specifically. Yeah, but she's technically a Union model now, and I don't know if they would do 2 Union models back to back.
See, and I think that when they are coming up with these types of things, these busts and things, I don't think it matters so much about Union, but player profile. Like the biggest, most impactful players, the most beloved models, those are the ones
I'll
that
say this, Friday's not very beloved. Many
agree.
Brewer players have cussed at her across the table.
Yeah.
Anybody that's, done shoot better after a beer and still misses the goal knows what I'm talking about.
Yep. So the phrase Broken Toad put this out, and then it got reposted on the Guild Ball supporters Facebook page. And all they said was they had a picture of like a map, and then it had Steamforged logo and Broken Toad's logo at the bottom, and in the middle it said the quote, "She's a real sweet lass," that one, and coming soon. So that phrase, "She's a real sweet lass," that one, is, I believe, early on in the fluff referring to Angel. So that's why I'm kind of leaning that way. I would prefer Brisket myself, but... we'll see, and I think it'll come out on Friday.
Yeah, it'll be something that's at SteamCon for sure. And SteamCon's doing a lot of cool things this year, and I'm very excited to listen to the keynote, because they let people stream that live, so that was cool to see last year. And it's just going to be really cool to see what comes out of this. We should get the last cards for the blacksmiths and the farmers.
They should get a cool swag bag as well that they're handing out.
They do have a cool swag bag. That new rat catcher guy, what's his name, Sulk,
something like that. Yeah,
he's apparently a mortician now.
Yes.
So that's going to be interesting. Maybe he's going to make Vileswarm not terrible.
Well, I think that it's fun that they did a variety of things in that swag bag, because there are definitely things like having a model is awesome to put in a swag bag, but then also kind of fun stuff like, the old
Jake coaster.
Old Jake's coaster, some limited edition cards. I mean, who doesn't want some sweet temporary tattoos? and some Thunder Sticks. Who's not going to save those forever?
Totes my goats, man.
But the Union and Chains ball, I think, is something that's awesome that they added in there.
And that's going to be, not going to lie, it's going to be a little salt in the wound here when the Greenville guys come back with those.
Yeah, I'm going to be a little bit jealous. Also coming out, second Farmer's Box, which I know you're just begging to get your hands on, and second Blacksmith Box.
Yeah, that's going to be nice. And I tell you what, one of the battle reports that I'm going to share was against the Blacksmiths with the Farmers, and that was a really interesting game. I was really impressed with the way that went down.
And he proxied some of those.
Oh yeah, he played
some of those other ones.
In the other box.
Yeah. I want to know how they're going to levitate that model in the Blacksmith's box.
If it's going to be actually like that on the model, just be a flight stand.
No, they have to make it levitate, otherwise it's false advertising.
Well, you want to know what? Too bad.
If it's not levitating out of that thing, I'm going to be like, fuck this box.
So, looking at, I think we'll just go ahead and jump into these battle reports.
Sure, yeah, let's talk about it. Do you want to talk about your games or my games?
Well, what we'll do is we'll do it round by round. I'll do my one game. You'll do your one. We'll do two.
Let's do my game first because I think people will be more interested in yours.
Sure. So I ended up playing Farmers the whole day, and Chris, you ended up playing what?
I'm learning the Brewers, so I ended up playing Brewers for 2 games, and then I went back to my old faithful Butchers for the 3rd.
All right. So what did you have in that first pairing then?
Okay. So the first game I played against Mike. He's the pundit out there in Greenville.
Top player in South Carolina.
He is excellent. He played his classic Butchers. He's quite good with them. I didn't want to give him a mirror match, and I figured it would be a good chance for me to kind of stretch my legs with. So
what was
my Brewers?
What was the lineup?
He took fillet, meat hook, shank, brisket, boiler, and princess, and I took tapper, hooper, mash, scum, Friday, and spigot.
Yep. That's my go-to.
Yep. And so I actually, I got some activations wrong in that game. I should have used Mash's unpredictable movement at a different time than I did. There were times where I mismanaged when I should have bought Commanding Aura versus earned it through attacks. So, some things like that. Mismanaged the ball a little bit. Thought that I could block things out in ways that I couldn't. So I made some errors. I'm still learning these Brewers. He ended up beating me pretty good. I think it ended being like 12-4, 12-2, something like that. But he's a great player. He definitely did a lot more with fillet than I expected him to. I know that a lot of times I see that when I take fillet, and I'm not primarily a fillet Butchers player, I'm more of an ox guy, but I feel like she doesn't always dole out as much damage to those tough hide models. And he was able to find a way to do it. He tooled her up and popped legendary at the right time, played great, played a really solid game as I expected of him, and he took that win.
So how did you get your 4 points out of that game? Like I know he
takeouts.
I know he got a goal in there.
Well, I definitely keyed on Filet right away.
Yeah.
I wasn't going to just let her keep running around, but obviously she came back, got into the action quick.
So did Tapper and Hooper take out Filet? Is that what you did?
Yeah, I can't remember. I usually set it up where I get Commanding Aura up with Tapper, and then Spigot or Hooper goes in on a knockdown model, that sort of thing.
Are you doing a better job of keeping Scum next to Tapper?
Yeah, I think that I do a pretty good job with that now.
Because I noticed the first couple times you and I played, there'd be at least a turn or two where you're like, that goddamn cat is too far away.
It can happen for a turn in these games that I'm still playing, and sometimes I just have to let the cat go because the cat is kind of behind the line, and I need to shoot Tapper out there because I see like a real clean kill.
Yeah.
We'll get into that in another game that I played yesterday in the second round that we played. And by the way, when we're saying first and second round, we're just trying to keep track of the order of games we played. This wasn't a tournament. This was just a free play.
It's just to prep the guys to get them some different games in besides their meta.
And I wanted to go see Firefly. Firefly has a great store up there in Columbia.
Yeah, they revamped it, actually. They got a lot of new stuff in there that they didn't have before. They got these arcade games and a lot of space for their board games. So it was really cool to see their new store set up.
I wasn't able to play any arcade games. Yeah. Next time I'm coming with a pocket full of quarters.
I thought you were going to say a pocket full of shells.
No.
All right, so you lost 12-4, got 2 takeouts?
I might have had one. Filet was the one that was important. Maybe I took out the dog. Maybe I took out Boiler? It was something like that.
Well,
like
Boiler deserved it. So my first
You're
round
such
game.
a Boiler hater, man.
I
He's a little kid.
He's an orphan, and I hate him.
Oh, wow.
So
all right, Mr. Fagan.
So game 1, I played against Masons, and it was against the Augusta Pundit. And for the life of me,
Aaron.
Was it Aaron?
I think his name's Aaron. Because I played him in round 2, so I really hope I got his name right.
Well, if it is Aaron, great. If not, I'm so sorry I forgot your name. So we're going to start playing them more often because they're really cool guys. But he was playing Masons, and he had Hammer, Wrecker, Tower, Mallet, Lucky, and Vet Harmony. And I was playing my Farmers lineup. I played the same lineup the whole day, so I'll just share it right now. I had Grange. I had Tater.
Your MVP.
Yeah, my MVP. I had the Rooster. I had Wendell. I also had Jack Straw, Harrow, and who am I forgetting?
You said them all.
Did I?
Yeah.
Okay, I got them all. Good. I just want to make sure.
I know it feels like you have extra players on the pitch when you play those damn Farmers, but you don't. You have the same number. It just feels like you have like 6 of them.
Okay, yeah, I got them all. Okay, so anyways, that was my team. So this guy, they played against Farmers, but to be fair, he hadn't played against Tater before, and I felt like this is going to be a bad game for you then.
Oh, I could imagine.
So I told him what Tater did. I wasn't holding any punches on him. And
hopefully you reminded him during the game, because I'm sure he forgot the very first time he's playing him.
Yeah, so I kicked off with Tater because I found that in a Grange team that works out really well because it lets me get my counter charge model out there, and it also lets me, my second activation, make that charge live with either Grange or Harrow putting their harvest marker down. So it sets up the pitch really nicely, and then I just went into my setup turn, and since I had the last activation, I used Tater to charge into Hammer, because Hammer couldn't quite get to me, and Hammer wants to be in the front, so he took a charge from Tater, and Tater knocked down 2 models, did some damage, and Hammer was in a bad way already on turn 1. And basically after that, I ended up killing Hammer turn 2 with a snack break from Wendell. After I set Grange up. Grange is my setup piece. He just walks up, knocks stuff down, puts harvest markers down. So I got snack break with Wendell. That wasn't too difficult to set up. I also ended up killing Tower and Mallet. I think I got Mallet with a snack break too. Lucky did score a goal on me because he had Lucky. And he just ended up raising the stakes to get in goal range and just kicked one in. And then
when he raises the stakes, do you just try and move a model 4 inches to engage him?
So you got to be careful when you use it. And the first time he used it, I countered it pretty bad because he ran and then he was next to me and then he raised the stakes and I just raised the stakes right next to him and he missed the kick.
Yeah, so that's what I kind of feel like is the obvious play, and it's hard to never have a model within 5 inches of you, especially when you're trying to score.
It's not that hard, and I told him this. I'm like, what you could have done is you run out and you measure that 5 inches away from a model so that way you can't get engaged. And then you raise the stakes and go kick the goal. You really have to be sure that you're not going to get screwed over by it because you can easily do that.
Okay.
So, but he did end up getting the ball and scoring, and then I finished up. I didn't get any goals. I just killed all the Masons.
Okay.
So it was 12-4 at the end of it.
Okay.
Wendell got a couple snack breaks and
trying to make friends with this new guy you've never met before.
Yeah, it's 12-4. He got 4 points.
Oh, charming game.
So,
I'm sure.
And I think that let him see kind of like how Farmers, can be pretty brutal with all the damage they can put out.
Yeah.
Okay. So, what was your round 2 game again, or who was it against?
It was against Aaron. So I played him right after you. So you kind of told me what your experience was with Aaron. You told me that he was the pundit down there in Augusta. I figured, hey, I want to kind of measure myself against fellow pundits. And so I said, hey, let's play. You also did mention that he was fairly new to those Masons.
Yeah.
That he hasn't been playing them for a long time.
He was mostly a Union guy, and then he said he got bored of them, so he ended up switching to Masons.
Yeah, so I'm new to my Brewers, so I said, hey, both of us are learning these new guilds. Let's try to do it. He put the Masons out there. He played Hammer. He played Mallet, Tower, Vet Harmony. I'm trying to remember the last one that he had out there. Lucky. And he took Wrecker.
And Wrecker died turn 2 because Wrecker is one of those, and I hope you killed Wrecker like early too.
I didn't.
Because he can ruin your scrum, especially when you're playing Grange and when you're playing Tapper. So I killed him like turn 2.
Yeah, I wasn't too worried about him. I didn't have the same issues.
Okay.
So I kicked off to him. He got the ball. Scored turn 2 with Mallet. Really stretched Mallet out there, and Mallet couldn't really get back into it. And so after that, it was just kind of a matter of me picking out models. I have the advantage with all that reach with the Brewers, and I put the ball on Mash so he could unpredictable movement out of there. And I just layeth the smacketh down on them.
I was surprised he only had 1 2-inch reach model.
I was surprised at that too. I was also surprised that given the matchup that he didn't take Flint. I think he should have taken Flint, especially over someone like Vet Harmony, and create more scoring opportunities.
I like Vet Harmony. He just didn't use her well. He didn't use Smelling Salts, which would have been nice.
I didn't notice that he used that in my game either.
Yeah, so I don't know if he really knows how to use her yet. And then also he didn't, when I was killing Hammer, he could have soaked up some of the damage because she can basically transfer damage to her.
Mm-hmm.
So he could have done that, but he forgot about it. So, I mean, he'll get better when he plays that guild more, but there's a lot, when you play Hammer, there's a lot of tools you need to make sure you use.
Yeah, I did forget that Lucky could pop a model up and take those conditions off.
Oh, yeah.
And so that jammed me up a little bit. But basically, once I got a model taken out, I just sent Tapper like a heat-seeking missile and just put him on guys as quick as I could. Sent Hooper over to put him on follow-ups where Tapper wasn't able to finish it off, and eventually just wore it down. And I think I was all takeouts in that game.
Yeah, I believe it.
Yeah, so that game, I just think that it's a tough matchup to go into melee against the Brewers. He did have options though. I like taking Hammer with that. I like the idea of Hammer bouncing models out of their scrums. I like the idea of playing Hammer as a scorer, where he can do
both.
Yeah, he can put that punishing march on and then also increase his kick. So you can do that. I don't think that it was a mistake in playing Hammer. I think that it was more
trying to bash with you.
Trying to bash with me, exactly. I would have taken a much more scory list. And yeah, I don't really like the idea of Tower against the Brewers because of the reach factor.
Tower is really good against the Brewers.
Because of the knockdowns and stuff?
Yeah, man, they can put Sturdy on him as like most of his players.
Yeah, but the unfortunate part about that is you're having to activate him early in the turn.
Well, I mean, you usually want to do that anyways for the tooled up, though.
Why would you want the tooled up if you're already deciding to play a scoring method against
Get a loose model like Kill Spigot?
I guess that's possible. But I think that it would have benefited him to just go more scory, more...
Just scatter.
More... Absolutely. Yeah, spread them out.
Run away!
And eventually I did get spread out, but it was mostly because I was shooting down those stray models as they came back on the pitch. It was just worth it for me to extend myself.
So what was the final score of that one?
I believe that one, he got the early score, and I gave up Friday later, so it was 6-12.
Okay. So my second game was against Mike Rhodes, playing Butchers, and we had a conversation when we showed up, and I was like, yeah, I'm going to play my farmers, y'all can get a crack at them, whatever. And we were talking, and one of the things he said is, yeah, when we've played against farmers before, as soon as they lay down those harvest markers, we just run them over. I was like, okay, cool, that's fine.
So this was a big game. Mike's a very good player. He won that Greenville tournament that they had recently with 20-plus players there. He's a pundit. This game really mattered to us as far as being able to stretch and see if what we're thinking is accurate.
Well, what this really meant was it was either going to show that Chris doesn't know what he's talking about, or it was going to validate what he's been saying about some of this farmer stuff.
And I don't want to be lonely, so...
At Farmers Only.
You went Farmers Only on him. Okay,
so
go ahead.
The lineup was he brought Ox, Princess Boiler, Shank, Minx, and Brisket 1. And I thought it was actually kind of a cool idea because since I dropped Tater, because I had the same lineup like I said, I thought it was interesting because that way Filet didn't need 5s to hit Tater. Instead, Ox could come up and just need 4s. So Ox was a pretty interesting lineup, and he can put out a butt ton of damage. So I end up kicking off again. I lost the roll-off again. I'm kicking the ball off. So once again, I kick off with Tater. I start moving my team up. I'm keeping back. Mike tried to get freaking cute with it. He tried putting the dog into countercharge range. And I don't know if he's trying to get me to bite on that, which obviously he was trying to do. But he wanted to do that so Ox could, just walk up and punch me in the face and kill Tater probably. So I didn't bite though. I was like, yeah, whatever. I don't want to give you love creature or any of that crap. So he has the ball, and he's got the ball with Ox, and he's got the second to last activation. So what he does is he wants to catapult Ox up 4 inches so he can charge me. So he kicks the ball, and just like a Butcher's player, they suck at football. He misses the kick, and he's just screwed out of that activation. And that really set up the whole game because, like you like to say, Chris, if you have one bad roll against the Farmers, a lot of times it can start avalanching on you. And that's kind of what happened because...
It's like a chain reaction.
Instead of being stuck in a
nuclear reactor.
Yeah, instead of being stuck into Ox... I was able to charge Tater into Boiler, the dog, and I think Shank might have been over there. It was at least Boiler and the dog. So the Boiler and the dog end up getting knocked down. I do a couple damage, get 4 up on momentum, and then I'm going turn 1.
Yeah.
And then turn 1 happened. I just activated pretty much right away with Grange, got up there, put some Harvest markers down. I think I ended up killing Boiler with Grange. And then the next turn I came up with Windle and I snack break the dog and I ate the dog, got 2 victory points for that. And it started getting really rough for Mike because I think by the end of 2, I think I was up, if it wasn't 4-0, it was 6-0 at the end of 2. It was pretty bad.
Okay.
So after that, he actually started to do a pretty good job of coming back. He set up Ox's legendary turn pretty well. He ended up going into Windle because he didn't want Windle in the middle. And it took all 5 of Ox's attacks under his legendary to kill Windle, which I think is pretty impressive. And after it was all said and done, he only had 2 momentum to show for.
And that's still pretty fortunate attack-wise. Like, that's rolling a lot of successes.
Well, I think it was very doable, but on my counterattack, he didn't knock me down.
Here's the thing. You have 5 attacks with Ox.
Yeah.
And so for you to do 29 damage, which is what it takes to kill Wendell, that means that you're averaging 6 damage per roll. Even with Ox, that means that you're getting to like the end of his playbook every time.
Yeah.
And so Wendell's only a 2 defense, so it's reasonable. It's just not very likely.
Yeah, and I almost survived it because I put up a snack break, so I healed 4. And the reason why I got it is I think he also got butchery up, so I think he was actually +3.
Like on a wrap? He wrapped for butchery?
Something like that. So that's what I'm saying. It was like Wendell barely died because of all the hitboxes he had. So he ended up taking out Wendell. I think I retaliated, and Tater took out Shank.
I would imagine he still loses the momentum race on that, though, because of all the attacks that you have to make on Wendell that aren't generating momentum.
Well, yeah, like I said, after he killed Wendell, he had 2 momentum.
Okay.
2.
Yeah.
All those attacks, he did 2.
Yeah.
So, let's see here. Other things that happened. So, Tater's just a beast. He killed Shank in one charge because I had Honest Labor on him, and I had him tooled up, so he's +2 damage. So, even on 1 hit, he's doing 3. So
hashtag nerf Tater.
And on the charge, he does an extra 3 damage. So he's just...
Of course he does.
Tater was just running around destroying things, man.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, that's how OP models work.
So, but like I said, during that legendary turn, he actually got really close to also killing Grange. I think at one point he got Grange back down to 2. But can you guess what happened?
Oh, yeah, I can. So I can guess what happened.
So poor Mike, the farmers healed so fast that because I killed off 2 models, so we really only had Brisket to attack into me. So Brisket comes around, does a crap ton of damage. Boiler did some damage too before he died. And Grange was on 2 health after the bleed, and then I got 2 for, healing with Harrow. I healed during his activation for 4. I healed somebody else 4. So, and then I put Tough Hide on him. So, I ended up not...
You popped Legendary on that turn, or Constitution?
Constitution.
Yeah, Constitution.
I did pop Legendary that turn because I was expecting knockdown.
How did he like that experience?
I don't think it came up because, Butchers just don't have great knockdowns.
Okay.
So, it really didn't come up. I just did it more because I knew if it was going to happen, it was going to happen that turn. And then I ended up... After it was all said and done, I think I was up 9-2, and I had the ball on Tater, and I just took the goal.
Okay. So
I ended up winning that 12-2.
Yeah.
And it was really close to being closer to like 12-6 because he had a couple models like really low.
So this is, I think, pretty interesting because you and I, when we play,
you almost killed Tater too.
Yeah. Just to give everyone that's listening at home an idea of where Pete and I are at comparative to each other. Pete is probably the stronger player, although I can beat Pete. We probably split games to the tune of 60-40 or 2/3 to 1/3 with Pete having the advantage. Just so you get an idea of how we play against each other when we're taking the farmers out of it, when we're just playing other guilds. And given that aspect, when I played Mike, I lost 12-2 or 12-4. No. I don't remember exactly. And then when he played Pete's Farmers, he lost 12-2, which shows kind of the range and gap in what the experience is for one player playing a pundit with a relatively new guild versus another player that plays at a good level and is playing a guild that I think is very strong.
Well, I want to ask Mike this too when we interview him later. I want to ask him what how he would compare how I played farmers to other people. Because I'll agree with him that first turn set him back so hard.
Well, I'll tell you what, without even asking him this question, I already know one of the answers is going to be.
What?
Which is you distribute those harvest markers better than others.
Well, yeah, because he only got a chance to run one of them over, and that was the only one that got run over all day.
Yeah.
Because I tell those guys...
in all 3 games.
Yeah, I tell people, I'm like, I put those harvest markers where it's going to be really inconvenient for you to get them, and I'm going to put them someplace where you can't get to them, because in a Grange team, it's most of the time it's behind them, and if you're going to go get them, you're running into a buzzsaw.
Yeah.
I ended up winning that 12-2, and I'm just going to be curious to see how he compares how he's played against farmers to this, because, we've been telling people, I think I got this farmers team pretty tight with Grange.
Yeah.
To be fair, I think I have a lot of practice with Brewers, and that helped.
Yeah.
This is a souped-up
Brewers. Because Brewers, yeah, they're a stronger version of the Brewers, and because I've been playing those Brewers so often, you got a lot of experience with them, and you know the Brewers very well. Because that was your original starting point.
So who was your game 3 against?
Okay, so my game 3 was against Jess from Augusta. He took his Morticians, he took Obelisk, he took Gasp, he took Memory and Brain Pan, he took Cosset, Vet Graves. Wait, which one is the one that has more of the sword?
That's Vet Graves.
Okay, so he took the other one. Okay. He took the original Graves.
Which is the better one.
Okay. And I said Dirge already, right?
Yeah, you have Cosset.
Brain Pan, Memory, Cosset, yeah. Okay, I think I got them all. Yeah. Just to recap, Obelisk, the mascot was Dirge. He took Cosset, original, Graves 1, Gasp, and Brain Pan and Memory. Okay. So we did the...
And you played your Butchers.
I played my Butchers this time. I wanted to. I just felt...
Did you bring that old, well-fitted glove team?
Yes. I brought my traditional Ox lineup. So I brought Ox, I brought Boar, I brought Boiler, Meat Hook, Shank, and Truffles. So we played...
You and that stupid pig.
That pig is good. But people can keep believing that it sucks. Go ahead. Keep believing that.
Go ahead.
Enjoy.
Tell us what the pig did in this game.
Yeah, the pig didn't do much because...
Like usual.
No. It's not like usual.
Anyways.
It was a different situation.
Go ahead.
Anyway, so Man, yeah, geez, man. Give me a hard time, why don't you? So we use the newer deployment, the better deployment, as I like to say.
I did that in my game 3 as well. I'll explain.
So we use that other deployment. I set it up to where Boar was able to charge right away. I got kicked off too, and the ball kind of got left there for a little bit. I think it was because he had a lot of his melee models up front, and he didn't want to go take them to get the ball. I got him pretty early on. Graves, took Graves out. I ended up just getting, surrounded basically by the other models. Obelisk obviously tried to manipulate Ox and bring him up, and he got circled around. I made a miscalculation. I shouldn't have done this. This was like a rookie accounting error, bookkeeping error. I didn't think that Obelisk would get his knockdown, and so I tried to just walk Ox out of his melee range so he could just go against Gas one-on-one. And I was wrong. He got knocked down. And so in the end, he got a lot of models, 5 models on Ox, and took Ox out with a full stack in turn 2. And that sucked. But after that, I mean, the Butchers, they just do a lot of damage, and they just started winning that damage race and took out model after model after model.
Did you keep the ball the whole game?
Until the very end. I scored at the end.
See, and that doesn't make sense to me, though, because if you got Obelisk, I don't know why he wouldn't make you.
So Obelisk got put into a scrum, and I took it with Shank the other way.
Oh.
So, because Shank has all that movement, so Obelisk can't really catch Shank, given the amount of movement that Shank has. It's hard for Obelisk to keep up with that 12-inch.
I mean, I don't know. I mean, he has decent movement, not like Shank. I mean, he's probably got what? He's got Shadow. Does Obelisk have Shadow-like?
He has both. He has Shadow-like and Emperor.
Yes, I mean, he has 8 inches of movement, and that's an 8-inch character play, I think.
Well, yeah, but it's hard to get through the middle of a scrum to the other side of the board.
Yeah.
Just from a practical standpoint, I understand that mathematically you could probably get to him. It's just a matter of what works out in real life.
Yeah,
so
that's true.
I made sure to put Obelisk. Eventually, I was like, you know what? If you're going to swarm Ox, I'm going to swarm Obelisk. So I started putting models face to face with Obelisk, and I was just like, we're just going to swing away here, and whoever wins this melee fest, and I liked my chances, that's who ended up winning. And eventually, I just started taking out more and more models. I tried to heal as much as I could, and I won that one on a kick at the very end, so 12-2. He only took out that Ox, and so well worth the sacrifice of Ox.
Yeah, I think and we've talked about this before, if you're going into the strength of a team and they do that thing better than you, it's only a matter of time until it catches up with you. Like, after he caught Ox, he should have disengaged and gone after the ball. Yeah,
and the other thing is, I felt like while he did try to engage Boar somewhat, it wasn't a great job of engaging Boar. He could have engaged Boar more and done more to keep models off of him. There were times where Boar was engaged at the beginning of a turn, and then he bought with influence an attack and a berserk, so he got 2 attacks, takes out the model. Now he's free to charge somewhere else.
That's right.
So there were things that you could do, but at the same time, I went the opposite way, and I intentionally engaged Cosset. So I took away Cosset's.
Yeah, Cosset goes away a lot easier, though.
Yeah, but I mean, Cosset versus Meat Hook, that was an advantage to me, especially when I was able to...
You sneeze on Cosset, she goes away.
Yeah, and especially when I did things like with Cosset and Meat Hook, that was pretty much the matchup that I forced on that, and then I brought Shank in to just give more crowd out support with his 2-inch reach, things like that. So anyway, it basically came into a scrum, and eventually, I won that scrum. I just did more damage.
Yeah, and my game 3 was an awesome game. This is probably... I didn't see all of the games that were played, but I would wager that this was probably one of the better games of the day.
This was a Sunday night football game of the week?
This was Sunday night.
Okay.
So it was Jake Smith and myself, and Jake's also a very, very highly ranked player in South Carolina.
Yes.
I think he's about 2 or 3 spots ahead of me on Longshanks.
Yeah.
So he played the new Blacksmiths, and he did proxy some of the new models. We did the new deployment, and we played the guild identity cards.
Okay.
So he ended up playing Hearth which was his master blacksmith. He played cinder, alloy, iron, ferrite, and furnace. He brought the guild identity card, passing the mantle.
Okay, so that's the one where you get to take on a new captain.
Yep, new captain. I did, like I said, the same farmers team. I wasn't going to change it up. I'm like, here's my team, bring whatever you want, and we'll measure it up. So I brought the same team with Grange led, and I brought Krakadon.
So basically, and this is what I'm hearing from others online, etc., he tried to use the blacksmith hard counter to the farmers.
Yeah, and I now that I played against it, I definitely see how there's some good counters there, and I'll kind of talk about some of them here. I did feel like I kind of surprised him on my deployment, because the way I deployed in that alternate deployment, I put Jack Straw and Peck on the front line, and he kind of looked at it like, oh, that was kind of crazy that you did that. And this is the reason why I told you that I do that, is because I like to do that so I can almost set up my line, set up my Grange lineup on my side of the pitch. I feel like if I set up on his side of the pitch, that's when I can start losing models, and then it takes them forever to get back into the fight.
Yeah.
So I feel like farmers want to play on their side.
Yes.
So that's why I did it, and he was surprised by it. I was surprised he moved Hearth up and started engaging my guys turn 1. And he actually used her legendary on turn 2 because he got initiative. And he used her legendary to do the 3-inch reach. Well, I kind of got caught here because I thought...
Wait. Is this a gotcha moment?
It was a gotcha moment.
A gotcha moment for Pete, ladies and gentlemen.
Because this was the first time I really played against blacksmiths. I've kind of like read some on them, but I really hadn't played against them. I only played against Matt's box once, and that's not what I was playing here. So I thought the 3-inch was like Mallet and like Thresher, where it's like, okay, it's going to go away at the end of that model's activation, which definitely wasn't the case. So when I pushed out Hearth outside of my 2 inches, I was like, okay, that's cool. And then he's like, oh no, I still get my counterattack. I have 3-inch till the end of the turn. I was like, well, balls, this is going to suck. And it did, because he pushed out Grange, and I wasted about 2 influence because I was able to put Tough Hide on Grange, and I was able to put up Honest Labor for whatever that was worth. And I ended up losing the momentum race on that because of it. Luckily enough, with Tough Hide, Grange didn't take too much damage. I think he only went down to 19 after it was all said and done. But he did end up...
Man, rough day.
It was. But he did end up scoring a turn 2 goal with Ferrite.
Okay.
That bitch be crazy. So
I got that impression. So
he got the goal, so he was up 4-0. I ended up clawing my way back into it turn 3. Turn 3 was my turn. I had Hearth away from me, so I didn't have to worry about her for a minute. So I went over, I knocked Sledge down. We ended up killing Sledge. And then I ended up knocking down Ferrite. So Sledge was dead. I had Honest Labor onto Ferrite. So Tater comes up, kills Ferrite. So it basically ends up getting back even. And actually, you want to know what? It wasn't even. I was up 5-4 because I big breakfast and snack braked Furnace. So I was up 5-4. So the problem that I was having, though, is I really underestimated how easily the blacksmiths can get the ball back. Because Cinder can get the ball back from a range because she can do a tackle from like 6 inches away or whatever it is.
Yeah, she can crossbow the ball.
Oh, yeah. So that was annoying.
That's better than Daryl Dixon.
It is. Well, maybe. I don't know. Anyways, so that was happening. Also, that stupid goal kick they can do, you can't leave a free ball around those blacksmiths because they'll just kick it from their goal and get it.
Well, yeah, but you also don't want to run down the ball because they can take it off of you so easy, too.
Yeah, and that's where you got to kind of figure out what the risk is there. So
now this is the situation. I've never really seen this be an issue, but this is an old rule from season 1, right? There's a reason why they put that rule in where you can't just kill the ball behind your goal line.
Yeah.
And this now with this blacksmith box, if ever there is a reason why that rule has been in existence, it is because of something like this.
Just like, I'm going to kick it behind my goal, but they want to score, so they wouldn't do that anyways.
No. I'm talking about the blacksmiths can
Somebody
get the
doing
ball
that to the blacksmiths.
so easily, and that would be one of the best ways is to just kill that ball behind the goal.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Because, they can just... I was really surprised how easily they can get the ball. So, because he ended up getting it. I had it by the Scarecrow, but I couldn't hold it long enough before Iron took it and ended up swinging it back around to Ferrite after I killed her. She came back on, so now she has the ball again. Alloy got the ball to her. So, he ends up swinging the ball back around, so I can see the writing on the wall that I'm going to give up another score. So, I turn to Hearth. I end up killing her. I think I snack braked her too. So, I was up 6, 7, 8. So I was up 8-4.
Okay.
He ended up scoring a goal, brought it up 8-8. And then I ended up moving Grange up around this wall to engage Iron. And this was turn, I think, 4. And so I ended up bringing Tater in charging on that same target. Tater took out Iron, who had 12 boxes in 1 activation with Honest Labor up. So that's a ton of damage because Iron's a tough hide model. So the fact that I think I could do that much damage to Iron shows kind of how much power Tater has when he's put in the right position. Definitely. Because that model probably shouldn't have died there. And that's exactly what Jake said. He's like, 8 damage on the charge to a tough hide model. That's great. That should be a thing.
Yeah.
So we ended up being 10-8. So Jake wanted to end this game because he knew all I needed was one more model, and I had Alloy kind of in my crosshairs. So he tried to do a snapshot to, it was either Cinder or Ferrite. So he got it up there, snapshotted it, 3 dice, didn't get it.
Okay.
Ball scatters. So I ended up getting it, and I tried to clear it. So
did he get 1 success, but just not the 2 for the snapshot?
Yes, he needed 2. He got 1 of them.
Okay, I thought he missed a straight up, just regular goal.
No, it was a snapshot.
Okay, that makes more sense. Okay.
So, anyways, the ball ends up getting cleared out, and it ends up getting cleared back up towards his goal. The problem is Hearth came on. So now Hearth is kicking the ball to to Furnace. And Furnace has a goal opportunity at turn 5 or whatever it is.
Okay.
So I have to kill Alloy. So I end up kind of risking a charge with Wendell to try and knock out Alloy. I'm rolling 8 dice. I need to do 10 damage or something. But it's only with 4 attacks instead of 6.
Okay.
I end up missing it by 1. Okay. So here I am. I gave up a point because of activations because I clocked myself. And so he had the opportunity to win with Sledge. And he went for it. He charged somebody. He ended up getting momentum. And then he kicks the goal. And he missed it.
Yeah.
So I end up easily killing off
So
Alloy.
basically, because I thought that what was happening was he missed 2 goals that he had a pretty good chance of making. The reality is he missed a snapshot, which is always iffy.
Yeah.
And then he missed a goal that he should have had a good chance of making. Like you missed a takeout that you should have had a good chance of getting. Okay, so I thought it was almost fluky, but the takeaway that I had from that game, from what I heard about it, which was way more frustrating to me, was the idea that you got gotcha'd in that game and still were able to find a way to win.
Because if that didn't happen, I think I would have killed 2 models that turn. Turn 2, I think I would have killed 2.
Okay.
So it's just one of those things where I'm a guy where I learned from playing, so that's not going to happen again.
Yeah, I got you.
So, but it was a really good game. Jake's a really good player, and it was 12-11 when it was all said and done for the farmers. Okay. And you want to know what? The whole day, you know how many harvest tokens got ran over? 1. By
you
Minx.
mentioned. Yep.
So
on a free charge. What happened to Minx after that? That was funny.
Oh, so in the game against Mike and his butchers, so the reason why I didn't talk about Minx during that time I was talking about that battle report was because after he charged in, got the harvest marker, and back to the shadows out, I spent the rest of the game following Minx around with the chicken. So the chicken's just bouncing around the field following Minx so she can't do her furious charge.
That must have been so effing frustrating.
Oh, it was so great. I love doing that to people because I'm like, okay, you can move away, but you don't get your charge. Well, see, the thing is, because if he does...
Stupid fucking chicken.
And if he did damage to the chicken and dodged away, the pain response would cook in and it just dodged back to him.
You almost have to bring Minx into the rest of your guys and let somebody else kill the chicken.
Yeah, have fun. I mean, that's great. Kill the chicken, because you want to know what happens when you kill the chicken.
Yeah, you get another effing harvest marker.
Yeah,
Hopefully you can get it run over.
Yeah, you probably will, because, yeah. So, I mean, it was really great games. I felt like it was a good experience. That's a really good spot for us to, I think, meet up for future events that we want to run.
And everyone brought like a good number of people, like the 3 groups that were represented.
Yeah.
I think that those guys from Augusta brought 5 or 6.
Yeah.
And we brought 4. So we also had Clay and Joe, who are stalwarts in our meta.
The Greenville guys brought 3.
And the Greenville guys brought 3. So yeah, it was a good turnout. I had a lot of fun with that group, and I would definitely like to play with them again. That's a great central location with a lot of good space. So I hope that we're able to use that location again.
Yeah, so I think probably sometime in the near future, I think at least a couple times a year, I think we'll probably run a tournament for anybody interested up in that Columbia, South Carolina area, just because how central it is for us. And also it's not that hard to get to from Georgia or North Carolina. I think it's only maybe a couple hours from Charlotte.
Yeah. So we could easily probably. I've never really interacted with the Charlotte meta guys, but
and there are some guys from Charlotte, so that'd be cool to get those guys in. And
yeah, we'd love to have you.
So, I mean, any takeaways from those games? Anything that you're like, okay, that was interesting to learn today?
Yeah, I was happy to. I've stepped away from my butchers for a while, so I liked being able to have the experience of playing with Mike, who's a good butchers player, and seeing how he was using Flay, who I don't always use. He definitely picked some really good opportune times to pop legendary and those types of things. So
I tell you what, some good tech for you butchers players out there. If you play Ox, Brisket 1 does a ton of damage on Ox's legendary. Like, I didn't even know.
Yeah, but you know who does more?
I don't know who.
I would probably go with Shank. And he's got 2-inch reach.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, I was surprised because I'm looking at her as a goal threat, and next thing I know, she's putting 5 damage on her.
Really, any butcher is going to be able to do that to you.
Yeah, it was surprising though. I think it's a good way to kind of catch somebody snoozing, like, oh, all he has is
Okay,
brisket
I see what
left.
you're saying.
So it's gotcha. I think you can get somebody with it.
Yeah, okay, I'll bear that in mind. I just think, well, I can do that with any of the butchers because of how he operates.
And my takeaway also was, I've been playing these farmers a lot, but this really kind of showed me how big of a player Tater is. Like, Grange I like a lot.
I've been telling you for a long time.
Tater,
Did you just not believe me?
Tater I have honed in right now, where he's just so brutal and he's so easy to keep alive that it's just like he's a loose cannon out there, and he's just wrecking people, man.
Well, Jake threw out the prediction that they get a hard nerf come April. And I was actually looking at it, and we were talking about this while we were discussing with them. So my input as far as how the farmers can be fixed is I think that you could really do just a few things that are very reasonable. One is change the way the harvest markers work. And all that it would have to be is something where you limited the number that you could pull up to gain influence during the maintenance phase, and change the rule to where every time they interacted with a harvest marker, Tater got his countercharge off, or somebody received some benefit from a harvest marker, they had to pull up the harvest marker. If they just made that slight change to the harvest markers, I think that would be much more reasonable. Running over the harvest markers obviously isn't the thing that keeps them off of the field.
No.
The other thing that was mentioned is just when an opposing player contacts them. So whether it's you shouldn't have to spend an influence to run to try and take out a harvest marker. You should be able to just walk over it and stomp it.
Yeah, because like I said, the whole day, besides the turn I got caught with the gotcha, the whole day I did not have to worry about initiative rolls. I won pretty much all of those.
I believe you.
I think there's one time I had 14 momentum.
Yeah, those farmers are a pain in the ass.
So I agree, and then I'm getting +4 influence, because I'm pulling up 4 usually. So I agree that there needs to... But see, the thing is, though, in a Thresher team, you don't see that momentum shift because they are pulling up those harvest markers.
And they should.
Because Thresher, the Donkey, they're pulling those up. Whereas on my Grange team, I'm just letting them sit there. They're giving me benefits. I get to pull up 1 or 2, but then I'm replacing them. And then I get to pull up 4 for influence, and it's great.
Yeah. And then, so changing the way the harvest markers work is number 1. Number 2 is I think they need to take something away from Tater, like just one of his abilities. Yeah. Whether it's I don't think they'll take away the reach, Maybe they take away some of his movement. Maybe they take away the mow down. Maybe
mow down is so sexy.
They need to take away something. Maybe some of the healing.
That 3 damage that he does on the charge is brutal.
Yeah, I know.
Because it ignores tough high.
You act like you're telling me something that I don't experience every time we play.
It's more for the listeners. And
trust me, the listeners have heard me bitch.
And I like to get your blood pressure.
Yeah, okay, great.
Yeah.
And then I would think that they need to take one ability off of
But I tell you what, here's the thing though. I think that the blacksmiths are a pretty decent counter for the farmers. Like, I learned some things where I'm like, I got to reevaluate next time I play the blacksmiths on where I'm going to put the ball because I'm not sure where it's going to go.
Well, I'm getting my blacksmith's box soon enough. I got a email back from Steamforge, so credit to Steamforge. They did get back to me. I know I complained on the last podcast.
You complain?
Never.
Nah.
So the Steamforge did get back to me. They said, listen, those were supposed to be shipped out from the UK. We're sorry you didn't get them. We're going to send you your box, and they said they shipped that out today from a U.S. distribution center, so I should be getting those sooner than later. They said to expect to get them in the next 3 days or so.
Well, cool. So definitely some good games, though. Look forward to those guys going up to SteamCon, and hopefully the next tournament will probably, a couple of them talked like they might come out to our End of Escalation League tournament we're doing on Sunday, so we'll see if any of those guys come out.
Yeah, that'll be awesome.
However, I'm playing engineers, so I don't know how that's going to go.
Yeah, good. Serves you right.
I'm going to play very cagey.
That word doesn't mean that. Everyone always talks about playing these cagey games, and that word doesn't mean what they're saying.
What do you think it means?
You can Google it. What it means is that you're withholding information. So if you're playing a game where you're hiding information from your opponents, then I guess you're playing cagey.
That's so cagey.
It's an open information game.
It's true.
You shouldn't be playing cagey. No. Anyway, I want to add one little new segment, and this will just be really quick. This is just a quick shout out. I guess we'll call this our food discoveries.
Oh no!
When we go out?
This is from our food committee on our Charleston group.
Tell them about the food committee. How does that work?
So the food committee, anytime we go traveling, it is up to the chairman of the food committee to figure out where we're going to eat when we travel to these tournaments. So it's always their job, and the food committee is basically made up of Chris.
Yeah. So
Chris,
I'm always very interested in what we're going to be eating.
Go ahead and tell us what the food committee found in Columbia.
So we found this place right around the corner, basically, from the shop. It's called Real Mexico Restaurant, and it had over 500 reviews on Google and had a 4.5 star rating. So I was like, this is probably a good option.
Yeah.
And as we walked in, there were a whole bunch of Mexican and Hispanic folks. So I was like, this is a good sign.
Yeah. That's how you know it's real.
Yep. They said they were real Mexico. So I was like, this makes sense. And we got some great food there. So if you're in Columbia and you're going by Firefly, definitely a place that's worth stopping for some Mexican food.
Dude, those shrimp tacos I had were freaking awesome.
They were good. And I got that fajita thing that had the cheese melted over all the meats and everything.
Yeah, you guys won't be disappointed, and it was really great pricing too. Yeah. Taxes were a lot cheaper than down here in Charleston.
Yeah, and I know Joe and Clay, they both got margaritas that they said were pretty good size for the price. So
all right, well, we're gonna go ahead and switch over to the interview with Mike.
Yep.
So we'll go ahead and get that going, and then we'll cut off this episode there.
All right, so we've moved this podcast over to Final Round Game Shop, and they are our wonderful sponsor. They provide us with our tech in order to provide and create this podcast. The reason why we're recording here is we wanted to Skype in with Mike Rhodes, who is the pundit in Greenville. We want to start getting a few guests on the show and be able to get the impressions from some other metas.
So, Mike, just to give you an idea, we already just got done talking about the matchups Chris and I had on Sunday versus you guys and the guys from Augusta. So we were just kind of, after playing some different metas, wanting to get your take on what you thought about some of the different play styles you went against on Sunday, and anything that surprised you or anything you wanted to share about any of the general matchups. Specifically, maybe the farmers and that Chris isn't crazy.
Yeah. We had a great time meeting up with everybody on Sunday. We brought down a couple guys that are pretty strong in our meta, and to be honest with you, I would consider our meta a little bit more goal scoring oriented. We 2-2 games, 3-0 games. Those are a little bit more our style, I guess you'd say.
Yeah,
But
what would you say Chris and my style is when it comes to Guild Ball?
beat them to a pulp, and if they're standing, then score a goal.
If it shows up, right?
Yeah, I mean, it works out though. I mean, I was playing my butchers into your farmers, and I'll be honest with you, I didn't have enough control to really handle the stuff that I needed to. So, to be honest, you kind of made me rethink my SteamCon matchups. I might be taking Brewers to the last chance qualifier.
Yeah, so looking at our farmer and butcher matchup, I know that you had that really rough first turn, but besides that, do you want to talk kind of like how you were struggling and how you tried to get back into that game after that horrendous turn? Because everybody's going to have that bad turn, so how did you try to turn it around?
Yeah. So just for folks that don't know, I was playing up against the terrible farmers. I took Ox into it, hoping his damage output would be able to put down, the health boxes. Turn one, I was trying to get into Tater it was a tooled up Constitution countercharging Tater, and I was going to try and get into him with Ox just to stop him from mowing down half my team. But with that mess up, failing a kick to get there, he was able to mow down, I think it was Brisket, Princess, and Boiler. One of them had the ball, and after getting a little momentum to stand everybody up, because with 2-inch reach, I couldn't get to you. I was able to at least get in, and the only thing that really gave me a fighting chance was legendary turn with Ox taking out Wendell. If that wouldn't have happened, it would have been an easy 12-0 for you. And to be honest with you, I haven't been 12-0 since season 1, so that would have hurt my. But
Yeah, I'm always the same way where I'm like, we're not getting goose egged in this one. Even when I played Brian White, I'm like, all right, we're not getting goose egged.
that's right.
So do you think, I mean, they do a ton of healing. Do you think that's kind of overwhelming, especially, I mean, you're a butcher player, so you think if any guild could out damage the healing, it'd be them. But what do you think the problem was there?
Well, to be completely honest with you, I think your setup really helped. My goal going in was taking away influence from you, but the placement of the markers, if you're playing a good player, it really makes a big difference. And second off, maybe Ox wasn't the right play. You always second guess after a game, but I was really hoping Ox's legendary turn, I'd be able to take 2 to 3 models off. But Wendell's with his being able to heal 4 in the middle of a turn, it's pretty impressive. So
I was actually thinking about this game because we reviewed it, and I know that a lot of times people will make that kick from that model they want to launch up and take that 4-inch dodge. But I've actually kind of been thinking about some strategy and technique on that skill, I guess. And I almost wonder if you think, and I haven't mentioned this to you, Pete, either, so weigh in as well, if you think that it might be better to kick to the model that you want to launch up, and on the turn that it received the ball, so the turn before, dodge up 4, and then that way, in case something goes wrong, you have the next turn to try and kick it, and then move that model up. You have 2 chances at getting that 4-inch dodge, and normally on turn 1, it's not going to jam you up getting that 4-inch dodge because very few models have a 12-inch threat.
I think you tried that, didn't you, Mike?
I tried kicking with Minx to Ox, and that failed as well. So
So there were 2 failed kicks.
Yes.
I thought it was just 1.
No,
Okay.
it was 2.
So, but yeah, I think that for those listeners out there, I think that's a good little technique. Most of the times people are thinking a little bit too linearly about kicking on the turn that you are moving the model that you want to slingshot up there. And I think doing it the turn before gives you a second chance at it if you miss.
yeah, that's a great point. However, in doing it on the receiving end, unless you're going to back-to-back activations, it kind of projects what you're going to do. But if it's back to back, it almost doesn't matter. They only have one turn or one activation in between.
Yeah.
But that's absolutely a great point because that's 8 inches of dodge.
So Jake kind of gave you some shit after the match. Actually, I think he did it at the beginning of the match because he said, "Oh, so I guess you just didn't take any advice and didn't bring Harry." So do you think bringing Harry and goading like Tater or goading Grange helped you more?
Jake's going to get a kick out of this, but yeah, I do. Minx was great for that one turn of applying snared, but I think if I had to go again, I think Harry's probably the play just because of goad and a Molotov. Maybe that slows you down a little bit, but.
Well, because I think the problem with Minx was I was kind of already where I wanted to be, so I really didn't care about the snared.
No, I was using the snared more of a try and hit the top end of the playbook for the butchers.
Get some wrapping.
So wraps or possibly, get that momentous 4 that goes to 5 on Ox or, Boilers momentous 3, just trying to hit the top end more than anything.
I gotcha. Yeah, because I think definitely if Harry's there, I have to adjust kind of my game because I can't just let that happen every turn. And it gives you 2-inch reach too.
That's what I was missing, honestly.
Yeah, because I think the only 2-inch reach you had was Shank.
And I didn't want to bring him because he dies so doggone easy.
So looking at your other matchups, because I think you played Chris with the Brewers, and who was your other game that you got in?
I played against Union. That's not who he normally plays. I can't remember the guy's name. He's a really cool guy.
Is it Clay?
Oh,
did
you play Clay
from us? Yeah.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. Clay played his Escalation League Union into me, and he dropped Vet Rage. I dropped. Who did I drop into that? I believe I dropped Filet.
Okay, so do you find yourself as a Butcher player dropping Filet more or dropping Ox more?
It's funny you ask. When the Farmers Hoedown, we had the 21 players. I played Ox and Filet twice. And then on Sunday, I played Ox, Filet, Ox, or Ox, Filet.
So do you have a pretty good mix of them then? Like you play them both pretty often?
I love both of them because honestly, the way I kind of break down other guilds is by what my captains can do. So Fish, there's a 50-50 chance. If I think you're going to play Corsair, I'm going to drop Ox. If you're going to play Shark, I'm going to try and play Filet. It's really list chicken though, because if I get caught and I play Filet into Corsair, it's an uphill battle for me. So
yeah, no doubt. So looking at Farmers and Blacksmiths, because those are the 2 new guilds, what is your take as a pundit and as a player in your meta? What is your meta thinking about those 2 new guilds?
Blacksmiths, we see. Oh, me personally, I see a little bit more Blacksmiths. I play Jake quite a bit. Jake is an excellent Blacksmiths player. He has a lot of setup. He's been proxying the second box. He does pretty well, but they do require setup. They do require combinations to be taken. Farmers, I've only played 3 or 4 times.
Could you, Mike, repeat that last part that you said right at the end, because we kind of missed what you were saying.
Yeah, with the Blacksmiths.
Oh, okay, yeah. The Blacksmiths just Jake does a really good job because it requires setup, and but it doesn't take 5 turns of setup. It takes a master to set up, and then an apprentice to go, and then a master to set up, and
what do you think makes him such a good setup guy? Jake is a player.
I think he's really good at the 1-2 combination. He enjoys playing Brewers, but Brewers are kind of maybe 3 to 4 activations to get the most out of everybody. He's really good in spurts. Yeah. So he did well playing Alchemist because of the 1-2 punch of Vitriol and either Midas or Smoke. He does really well with Blacksmiths because of the 1-2 punch of the Master Apprentice.
So does he almost try and isolate it where it's almost like these smaller 2-man games on one side of the board type of a thing? Is that what he's trying to do?
Absolutely. If he can separate you into groups where he has the advantage, it gets a little dangerous.
Yeah, he tried that with me with my Farmers, but I think we were both smart enough to play our own game because I kind of stayed in the scrum and kind of kept my guys pretty close together, and he spread out. So he's definitely we both kind of understood how we wanted to play.
Yep, that's the 1-2 punch that he tries to go for, and then of course with yours, it's Grange, Tater, and then whatever else you can get going, especially if Wendell's on the back end of your activations. I think you do a great job with that as well. So
Yeah, so your farmer players up there, like, how would you kind of express how they're playing? Because when we've talked to you guys, it didn't seem like you guys were getting the same experience Chris was, because Chris is like pulling out his freaking hair over here, and you guys are like, hey, just run over the harvest markers.
well, to be fair, Sunday against you was the first time I played Tater, and he pain in the butt. So our player though, Josh is an excellent player. He's been playing engineers for like 3 years, and he's just now playing farmers.
Awesome.
He is. He gives everybody fits. Like he can play with anybody out there because I mean he understands what his guild wants to do and he does it well. I think I played him whenever he first started picking up farmers, and it was kind of placement of harvest markers at first. But after watching him play a buddy of ours, Gavin, he's fixed that problem. I haven't played him since then, but
Okay. So tell us a little bit, moving away from the individual games that you played on Sunday, tell us a little bit about your meta as a whole. You have a really strong meta, and I'm sure that you and others that have taken the lead have helped build that. So what have you guys done to create such a strong meta in that area and such great quality players?
Well, I think our biggest thing was have a great core group. Myself, Matt, Jake, Gavin. I mean, we got a bunch of guys, and I'm probably missing a guy here or there, but make sure that those core group go out and travel, play great games against other great opponents. Like Sunday was a great example. Like meeting up with guys from different metas that want to get better. Like that's the quintessential thing, in my opinion, to get your meta better. If there's a tournament 2 hours away, take your core group, go play. If they're doing a escalation league tournament, go do that. If they're doing, a regional, go do that. So, to me, it's more of how much practice against good players you get. You're not just always giving demo games. You're not always just, playing the next guy at the table. You go find the better guys and play them.
Yeah, and I think what makes you a strong player, Mike, and same with the guys in your group, is you played those games on Sundays and you're like, man, I really got to reevaluate kind of what I'm doing against this guild. So I think you guys do a good job of adjusting your play style as needed.
Oh, for sure. I mean, the whole way home we were sitting there thinking like, maybe someone in our 10-man group didn't have in our 10-man roster, maybe we didn't have that set up the way we should. Yeah. Or maybe I'm the wrong guild, or maybe, maybe I didn't do something quite the way I should.
So I think Chris was asking this in his head. I didn't hear him say it, but I know he was thinking it. So was there any salt on the car ride home with any of the games or any of the activations that you guys wish you could have changed?
Well, I'm pretty sure Jake was unhappy about his missed goal. I was unhappy about the missed pass. But other than that, we both think that you played pretty good farmer's ball, so it's hard to take anything away from you. And the Tater issue, both of us had never played against Tater, so kind of talking about what he does and what he brings to the team was kind of it was more of a how do you stop it.
He's a game-changing piece.
Yes, he is.
Because if he's played right, he can wreck half your team pretty
easily. So we were actually talking, if you set up Tater, Thresher, and then Millstone 6 inches behind them, now you've got a countercharge threat, you've got a poised threat, and if you knock them down, Millstone. So, I mean, that's brutal. Like that little triangle setup of Doom is pretty brutal.
Yeah, and I think the key is learning how to play around that. And I think the blacksmith that Jake was playing has a really strong playability into that farmer setup, though, because I was really impressed with that new setup with those new models that Jake played. So he played them really strong.
One of the things I think our meta does really well is we get instant updates from all the guild ball stuff. We immediately send it to group text, and we start to try and diagnose it together. And one of the things we immediately did when Alloy and Hearth came out is, oh my gosh, like where Alloy can score from anywhere. We can do this and that. Here's your goal scoring team and threat and all. So I do appreciate the fact that he can get those models out there and I guess test run them for us right now. So
you guys kind of list build as a group, as a team.
Oh yes, for sure, for sure.
And I know that a lot of metas, there's really kind of two philosophies to bring metas along, and I don't know which one you guys have. The first is, somebody comes in and be prepared to just get smashed, and you're just going to get smashed and smashed and smashed until you finally get better. Or the other, and I've actually been thinking about this a lot, is the other is to bring the stronger player, bring their game, not in a tournament or anything, but in casual play, down to a level where they're trying new things, so they're still learning, but the new player is able to play not as competitively, to where they're able to have some new experiences, they're able to challenge themselves, and they actually have an opportunity to win. And so I don't know what the philosophy is that you guys use. I'd love for you to share a little bit more on that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I coach as well. I coach several different sports, but one of the things that I kind of like to bring to this group is, I'm one of those uber competitive guys at anything I do. You can sit down and teach me a game tomorrow, and I'll hope I'll be competitive at it within a day. But I can tell you right now, what we like to do up here is we'll sit down, and if you want a competitive tournament, this is how we're going to play a game, you can ask for that. But if you want to play just hey, I'm testing out this list, we'll sit there and talk through turns. We'll pause the clock. We'll do whatever we need to make sure that everyone's not only enjoying the game, because while it is a competitive game, it is a game. So enjoy the game and learn while you're going. Like you can always go back afterwards and kind of talk about it, but while you're in the heat of the moment and trying to decide, we like to make sure that everybody's on the same page.
All right, so we're going to each ask you one more question. So I'm going to let you think about yours, Chris, because I have my one question, because I don't want to hold him up the whole night.
All right, you got it.
All right, so my last question for you, Mike, is you're going up to SteamCon, right?
Yes, sir.
All right, well, what are you looking forward to the most when you go up to SteamCon?
All right, so I've never been to a con of any type before, so I'm actually really excited for the con experience. But also, we don't really get too much recognition down here in the Southeast for our Guild Ball prowess. I'm going to be playing in the Last Chance qualifier, so
Nice.
to be honest, I kind of hope to go up there and kind of, at least make a name for us down here. Like, we can play some Guild Ball down here, so I'd like to let everybody know that.
Yeah, make sure you drop our podcast too, because Chris and I have been trying to ruffle some feathers and get our name out there so they know we got some game down here in the South.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
All right, Chris, what's your question?
Well, one question that I'm going to have for you later is, can you pick me up one of those second blacksmith's boxes? But we could talk about the logistics of that later. I guess the question that I had is, when you look at tournaments that you want to go to, an ideal tournament has what characteristics? Because you guys love to travel, you love to create tournaments yourself. What are the things that you think a great tournament has to have these qualities?
Well, the number one thing for me is, are you going to bring in enough players to make it worth my time? Like, if it's going to be a 10-man tournament, I'll drive an hour, no problem. If it's going to be a 20-man, 21, 22-man tournament, I'll drive 2, 3, 4 hours. If it's going to be a regional, man, I'll see you 10 hours away. It really just depends on how much hype you can get. And, prize support is great, but all in all, like, a guy like me personally, I'm looking for great competition. A couple of guys in our meta are all about the prize support. They're all about, making friends and connections, which all of that's, on my list. But me personally, I'm a competition guy. I like to compete. So that would be my reason for going.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I think that we all look for that, and I know that you guys do some great things with your individual tournaments, the sponsorships that you guys are able to get, and so thanks for, really setting the pace around this area, at least with all of that you've been creating.
You guys going to be sending anybody down here on Sunday for that end of league tournament we're running?
I'm gonna ask a couple guys. I have some prior commitments for the weekend, but I am gonna ask Gavin and Josh and Jake, Matt, see if any of them are gonna go down. But
I would say we got to get a rematch there, buddy.
Yeah, no kidding.
you gotta save face a little bit there. That was rough.
That was painful to my ego.
It was painful for me to watch, man. I was like, dang. These
yeah, but you didn't let off the gas at all.
Listen, no. So I think Mike can tell you, like, if I let off the gas at all, I think he could have easily turned it around.
Yeah, I think that Guild Ball is kind of like that.
Like, you had a couple of my models pretty close to dead there, Mike.
Yeah. Well, if you'd have let off the gas, I'd have known, and I'd have been pretty upset with you. So
that's what we like to hear. We're gonna let you go. We know that you've got school tomorrow. Mike's a teacher as well, by the way. And thanks for being on the podcast. We hope to see you again soon. Good luck if we don't talk again before that SteamCon
last
event.
Chance qualifier, yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me, guys. And don't forget, we are going to be trying to put on one of the biggest events in the country come early next year. So early 2018, look out for Green.
Is that, by the way, what that little teaser was that I saw posted on that Carolina Guild Ball Association Facebook page?
It might or might not be.
Oh, you're gonna play it coy. Okay. All right. Well, thanks for being on the podcast. We're gonna sign off on the podcast right now. Do you have anything left, Pete?
Mike, man, take it easy.
All right, guys. Good one.
Take care, everyone. We're out.